Ross. Let's get going. Let's get going. My doggies. No, this isn't Colorado, and it is not August of 2018. It is mid-November 2020, and I'm out here with the doggies in my favorite little outdoor treadmill park, as I like to call it. And I decided to bring the camera along today to record a much-needed intro for my 2018 Indian Peaks Wilderness backpacking trip. You may recall that in 2018 I did my one and only agenda video outlining all the trips that I was going to do for that year. The fourth trip of the 2018 season is going to be in August, in all likelihood early August, and it's going to be to Colorado. And as it turned out, I did do every single one of the trips on that year except one, and that's the video that you're going to watch right now. The reason I never published that video is that we didn't do a whole lot of backpacking on that trip, only about 4 miles or so. I realize we've been extremely fortunate over the years to not run into any big issues that could have disrupted our trips. I have had to cancel and modify plans for Western trips based on forest fires multiple times actually, but that was always before the trips got started. We've never really had any injury or illness type issues while we were actually on a trip, that is until the 2018 Indian Peaks Wilderness trip. When I arrived in Boulder that year to pick Christian up at his apartment, he hadn't been feeling well for a couple days. We hoped that whatever it was would pass quickly. Well, it didn't. We headed up to Nederland that night, and he just kept feeling worse and worse. And by the time we got to the Trailhead parking lot, very early that next morning, he wasn't able to keep any food or water down at all. Well, neither one of us wanted to give up on the trip. It was our annual father-son Colorado backpacking adventure that we've been doing for years. So we went ahead and strapped the packs on to give it a go. We headed over a couple miles to basically the start of the climb up to Pawnee-Pass, and if anything, Christian was just feeling worse. I realized if we kept going, we were just going to put ourselves in a really dangerous situation, so I pulled the plug on the backpacking portion of the trip anyways. Well, with the backpacking portion of the trip no longer feasible, neither one of us wanted to give up on the trip entirely, so we decided to turn it into a car camping trip and headed over to the nearby Rainbow Lakes primitive car camping campground that's pretty close to the Trailhead. And for our first bit of good news for the day, as we were pulling in the campground, a group of people was leaving the very best campsite in the entire campground, and we were able to grab that for a couple days. I never published this video, frankly, because there wasn't a lot of backpacking in it. And also, as you'll see, the video ends very abruptly. At some point on the trip, I just decided I was probably never going to publish it, so I stopped filming entirely. But in going back and looking at some of my older videos that I never published, this was one I thought should be out there for everybody to see. The early portion of this video is a great Colorado road trip with the dogs, and then there's some good information on staging this hike out of Nederland, which is pretty close to the Trailhead in Ward. And then you'll also get a good glimpse at the Trailhead situation itself, which is more than a bit challenging to say the least. On top of that, there is 2 good days of car camping, which for anybody interested in car camping in that area, you might find it interesting. So with that, let's take a look at my previously long lost 2018 Indian Peaks Wilderness backpacking trip starting out of Ward, Colorado. You ready to go on a long drive? You're not sure what's going on, are you? You get to go with.
Rush hour traffic. Heading to Colorado. Slowly.
Well, on the road again. Heading out on the 4th backpacking trip of the 2018 season. Feels like I just got done with the Wind River Range trip, and frankly I'm still a little bit itchy from that experience. I actually have a couple friends with me on this trip. I brought the dogs along, and as you can see, they are very excited for the 1,100-mile drive out to Boulder. We're heading out to the Indian Peaks Wilderness, which is just west of Boulder, to do what's called the Pawnee-Buchanan loop. It's a 25-mile loop that goes over the Continental Divide 2 times, and it's actually been compared to the 4-pass loop, both for the incredible scenery as well as the difficulty. First day looks to be a beast because we're actually going to be climbing up to Pawnee Pass right off the bat as soon as we get out of the car. It's a 2,500-foot climb over the first 5 miles, and we're going to be doing it with the heaviest packs of the entire trip, and before at least I'm entirely acclimated. August 2018, heading to Colorado, do some hiking with Christian and the dogs. Let's get this trip going. As they say in the airline industry, relax, sit back, and enjoy the 1,100-mile flight, in this case drive, to Boulder. There's just something awful special about making that right-hand turn onto I-70 when you live in the Indianapolis area. It brings back feelings of adventure. Heading out west feels like freedom.
First little stopping spot in the middle of Missouri, and it is hot.
Made it to Topeka, Kansas. Middle of Kansas, about 2 hours to Colby, and then our first day of driving will be done. I don't know what it is about driving through the middle of Kansas with me, but somehow or another I always seem to put it a little too close on gas. I was going by the range, and I had quite a bit of range, but there's something about the middle of Kansas that makes the range go down about 3 miles for every mile you drive. Right there is my gas station, so we should be fine. I'm on E, but I think I've got enough to get there for sure. That's one of the best feelings in the world when you're running on fumes, not quite sure where the next gas station is, and then you get to hear that sound. A full tank of fuel. Nothing better than that in the middle of Kansas when you've been running on fumes.
Oh, the dogs are happy to be out of the car, if even for just a little while. We are officially in the middle of nowhere, also known as the middle of Kansas.
We made it to the Super 8 Motel in Colby, Kansas. It feels really good to be here. That was a pretty long day. Dogs are, well, one of the dogs is missing. Super 8 Motel in Colby, Kansas. Looking forward to a nice night of sleep tonight and then get on the road tomorrow and head to Boulder. Day number 1 of the Colorado backpacking trip, August 2018, is in the books.
Which one's our room? Is it this one?
Okay, come on guys, come on. Let's go ahead.
Alright, this bed.
Morning. Welcome to day number 2 of the trip. No backpacking yet. There won't be any today either. We're heading to Boulder, but we're in Colby, Kansas. Beautiful sunrise. Pretty spectacular day here in western Kansas. Day number 2. Let's get it going.
Good morning for a walk with the dogs. They found some grass in the sea of concrete.
Just to kind of put Colby, Kansas in perspective, I've stayed here many times actually, and I kind of liken it to an oasis in the desert. I mean, if you go a block past the Super 8 that way, you're in the prairie, and we're like a block west of the Super 8 and there's the prairie. And the next town that way is probably 50 miles, and the next town that way was about 20-30 miles. Like an oasis in the deserts, it saved me more than a couple times on long trips where we were looking for a place to stay, and you know, found this place. That drive never gets any shorter. Beautiful day, kind of nice to be in Colorado again. And we got a few more hours, we'll be in Boulder. And there are some wide open places in eastern Colorado before you get to the mountains. Decided to come out amongst the windmills out here. I don't know if you could see off in the distance, but they go on for as far as the eye can see. Neat little stop. Heading back towards the highway, you can see I-70 right there. But talk about some wide open spaces. This looks like the southern part of that one windmill farm. I have driven by this thing so many times. It's kind of like, I can't remember what they call it, but down the hill here, there's actually a billboard out on the highway that says C6 States Tower, closed, fixin' to reopen. And the sign's kind of decrepit. Obviously, they ain't fixin' to reopen. I just happened to drive by it on this frontage road heading back to I-70 and decided to come up here. You think of the history of this place, you know, probably back in the day, and people would stop here and museum and everything in the tower. It's kind of cool just to sometimes take a little time to come off the road, I-70, where you're flipping by here at 85 miles an hour and just see what it's all about. My two dogs, they're great car riders. First glimpse we have of the mountains through the haze. So we're only about 10 miles east of Denver and finally getting a good look at them. It's always quite a sight heading down the hill, the final hill into Boulder. Those are the mountains we're going to be hiking in starting tomorrow. Alright. Made it to Christians. Oh, I heard you again. Hey, Kristen.
Hey, I literally just got back.
The dogs are happy. The dogs are happy to see Christian.
I need so good, so much.
Alright.
Up to the mountains we go.
Heading up to Netherland. Uh-oh.
Oh, so this way. No, you got it right.
Getting lost and we haven't even hit the trails yet. You guys excited to be in the car again? So you're going to be happy once we just get on the trail, aren't you? Heading up Canyon Boulevard, very appropriately named road. Welcome to Netherland. We got our room. They're very pet friendly. They want to meet you guys. So you get to be sociable and good. I actually came out here to the West Magnolia Trailhead. Do a little warm-up hiking before our hike tomorrow. Lady's walking herself. She's gonna walk herself. She's not real good on a leash.
All of it, all that web.
Oh, is it hiking or mountain biking
It's
too?
both, yeah. It's mostly mountain biking.
Cool. It's good to get acclimated, just doing a little exercise here before we get going for real tomorrow. Hiking in Colorado. Just a little appetizer before the main course, but nice appetizer. Look what we found. Wow, that's actually Indian Peaks Wilderness, where we're going to be hiking. Hiking around this trail complex is primarily a mountain biking place, so you got to keep your eyes and ears open. And the smells, pine forest, spruce forest. God, it's just incredible to describe. It's dry, piney type smell. Smells like Colorado. Well, we made it to the Boulder Creek Lodge. It may not look like it, but we're in the throes of final gear preparation. The Boulder Creek Lodge is actually a really sweet spot for staging a trip to this particular area because we're up in Nederland, which is about half an hour up the hill from Boulder, and we're about 10 miles from Ward, which is where the trailhead is. It's going to take us probably about 35-40 minutes from here to get to the trailhead. I'm going to get the gear completely prepped and have it out in the car ready to go in the morning, so all we got to do is get up, do our thing, and then head out to the car and get up to the trailhead. It seems kind of strange, but like one of the most stressful things I'm thinking about right now is getting a parking place at the trailhead. It's a extremely popular area, and the problem is if it's full, they don't let you in until the car comes out, and I'm worried 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning might be a while before anybody comes out.
You watching the PGA, Bailey? Or are you watching me?
Dinner of champions on the night before backpacking. So notice the lettuce, so we're eating healthy. I'll feed you guys in just a second. No, it's cruel. I should probably feed you first, huh? We're doing Musher's secret on the paws of the dogs. So I've been doing this for a while to toughen up and make their paws really healthy because I'm really worried about the rocks on this climb up to Pawnee Pass. Musher's secret on the paws. Morning. Welcome to day number 3 of the trip, first day of actual backpacking. Looks like another beautiful day, at least to start it out. It's a little past dark 30, not much. Sun hasn't come up yet, but we got to get up to the trailhead, so if I look a little tired, it's because I am. But get the day going. Heading to the trailhead. It's heading up to Ward. Tiny little town of Ward, about 10 miles north of Nederland. We made it to Ward. If you're interested in viewing it, don't blink. It's a pretty small town. And then the turnoff to head up to the trailheads is just past town. Brainerd Lake Recreational Area. Where's the turn? Ah, here we go. This used to be a dirt road until about 2 months ago. It's all paved all the way up there now. It's beautiful, but it used to be dirt. We made it to the what they call the fee station. They're letting people in, so well, looks like Long Lake Trailhead is full. Mitchell Lake Trailhead is open. So we'll see what they say. Kind of mixed blessing. I was hoping to be able to park at the Long Lake Trailhead, but it's full at 6:40 in the morning. We'll be parking at Mitchell Lake. That adds a mile to today's hike, but nothing else we can do. It's a little chilly up here. I think we might have to be switching out of our short sleeve shirts. 40 degrees. That's where we're going to be hiking. Holy smokes. Wow, that's pretty spectacular. This is the Mitchell Lake Trailhead. Looks pretty full too. Wow. Crazy place. Well, this is kind of crazy at before 7 o'clock. Looks like 2 spots. Oh no, there's a couple more. First element of stress is addressed. I've been worrying about getting this parking spot for about the last 3 weeks. So. Found a parking spot. Mitchell Lake Trailhead. Well, we are geared up and ready to go on an absolutely spectacular day in the Brainerd Lakes Recreation Area, Mitchell Lake Trailhead. And we get to start our hike with a road walk. Those guys don't like being on a leash. They're not real good leash dogs. Well, I was wrong. I saw a sign as we were crossing the parking lot that said Long Lake, so I think it's marked with those double white blazes. Better than walking on the road. This is what we find ourselves hiking in between the Mitchell Lake Trailhead and the Long Lake Trailhead. Tons of people. It's a real pain to have to keep the dogs on the leash, but I had no choice really. Oh, look what we found. This is where we wanted to park. This is the Long Lake Trailhead. Just to give you a feel for what it looks like. Kind of looks like the Mitchell Lake Trailhead. First significant milestone, Pawnee Pass, 4 miles. I think it's more like 4.5 according to all the trail reviews, but all uphill, like 2,400 feet up from here. They're the scary ones. First water stop for the dogs. Not a bad setting for it. Well, made it to the Indian Peaks Wilderness. I've been wanting to do this hike for a while. Tried to do it last year when we did the James Peak trip, but no permits. Into the wilderness, heading off. Interesting getting the hammock set up. Looks like a good spot for it. And I thought I'd give you the tour of what may be the best Forest Service campsite we have ever had. Here's where for one tent, there's obviously a super long picnic table. Down there, believe it or not, is also our site. See where Christian's setting his hammock up. Right back there, you may be able to hear it. It's a beautiful little mountain stream. Site number 8, Rainbow Lakes Campground. Get it if you can. It's a nice site. Do you guys like our campsite? You guys are happy just to be with us. Oh, it's so good. I was thinking we had limited water because we only had like 10 bottles of bottled water in the car, and then I realized we have a stream right over there and a 4-liter gravity filter, so we have unlimited water. No, he's not dead. he just knows and he knows how to get comfortable. Don't you, buddy? Clearly turned out to be a little different trip than I thought it was going to be. I thought right now we would be sitting in a campsite on Crater Lake, having completed a brutally difficult day. Instead, I'm sitting at campsite number 8 in the Rainbow Lake Campground, a little bit up halfway between Ward and Netherland, basically. This is an absolutely spectacular campsite. Probably the best Forest Service campsite I think I've ever had. The other beautiful thing about it is it's the last campsite on the whole row, so there's no neighbors over this way, just woods and forest and wilderness. The next neighbor over that way is, about 50 yards or so, so we really have a nice secluded place. Let the dogs do their thing without people being bothered by them. Anyways, the trip's turned into a car camping trip. It was pretty obvious pretty quick after a couple miles that we weren't going to be able to do it, and it was going to be a dangerous situation if we tried. So we decided to turn back around and come up with Plan B, which is what this is. Should be a great night, absolutely spectacular weather. Not at all where we were expecting to be for the night, but not so bad for a Plan B, so we'll make the most of it. Packet gourmet cheddar cheese spread. That rehydrate for about 45 minutes or so, and we'll be doing cheddar cheese spread. Okay. Smells good. About 10 minutes and have some dinner. Don't eat too much. can see all these mosquitoes. Unlike the Wind River Range mosquitoes, these guys don't seem to know what they're supposed to be doing. Give it to the Wind River Range mosquitoes. They knew exactly what they were supposed to be doing.
Christian's going to bed, but Bailey's back there keeping her company.
Well, good morning. Well, day number 4 of my trip and day number 2 of what would have been our backpacking trip, but now is our car camping trip. A spectacular morning in Colorado. This is why I come out here. When you're in the Midwest in the summer and it's 95 and you walk outside in the middle of the first thing in the morning when you go to work and it's already 73 degrees and it feels like you're walking into a steam bath. I wish I could bottle this up or somehow capture this in the camera, just the feeling out here.
There's Christian's hammock. That's where my dogs and I stayed.
I'll really show the up close and personal look at the making of the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It's the type of thing that teaches you patience. It doesn't come through there very fast. Can't wait any longer. I'll drink the rest of that later. Dunkin' Donuts coffee. I'm not having it at Crater Lake, looking at some surreal backdrop, but still awfully good. Beautiful morning in the woods. Can't beat that, even though it's not exactly where I was expecting to be, but sometimes you just gotta roll with the punches, right?
Dogs are playing. Oh, water break.
Well, breakfast this morning is honey bunches of oats with Nido. Very simple. The dogs and I are out for a walk and we came to the Indian Peaks Wilderness again. And what's kind of crazy is we went all the way down to the trailhead, the way down there. And I think that's the trail to the campsite, and I think our campsite's right down there. So anyway, we're heading to Rainbow Lakes. You go this way, it's the Arapahoe Glacier. I think it's like about 8 miles up there.
This is the first of many rainbow lakes. I think there's about 5 of them on this trail here, but this is the first one we came to. Pretty cool. Dogs are enjoying it.
Well, I warned you it ended abruptly. Sorry about that. But even with a less than stellar ending, I hope you at least got some entertainment from the video, or perhaps some information and education for anybody that's planning on going out there and doing that very popular hike themselves. For us, the trip didn't go remotely like what we had planned or what we thought we'd be getting ourselves into. And with just a few miles of backpacking, I couldn't go so far as to say it was a great hike like I might normally do. But even so, it was still a great trip.